The road to success is often preached like this straight ahead desert highway with no turns. But in reality, it looks a little bit more like Mulholland Drive, winding and turning through the countryside with no discernible purpose whatsoever. I remember when I first became an entrepreneur, I thought, this should be easy. Everybody I know has been successful. I mean, they just went straight to success. And then eventually I ended up as a consultant in a lot of those businesses and realized the zigzag approach to success was absolutely phenomenal. And most entrepreneurs had no idea 10 years before they would be where they are today. Today on the show, I'm going to be interviewing my friend, fabulous, phenomenal, and amazing entrepreneur, John Lee Dumas. He's coming out with a new book called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. We're going to talk about his book, but we're also going to talk about his path to success in just a moment. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, what's up, party people? My name is Ed Rush, 5-time #1 best-selling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. By the way, in 2 weeks, we're going to have a show format change and another show. Get ready for that. I'm going to give you an announcement via email and social media in just a moment. As usual, as you're joining us, jump in on the right-hand side. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do in chat. Also, if you're on Facebook, that's going to be below you in the comment section. Just some friends of mine jumping in. What's up, Roy? Good to see you. Robert from Dallas. Billy, my man. I'm going to see you in just a couple weeks at Chris's mastermind, actually. Hello, Barry. Welcome to the show. Hello, Tibor. Welcome. Hey, Mike Simmons. Good to see you as well. All right. Without any further ado, I'm going to bring on we're going to get cranking right into the interview. John Lee Dumas is in the house. What's up, my man?
What's up, brother? Excited to be here, coming at you live from Puerto Rico. I've got little Gussie Poo hanging out in the audience down there.
There we go.
Call him the Peanut Gallery over there. So, he's kind of hanging out doing his thing.
Puerto Rico, that's the shining star. So I have a formal introduction to do of John.
Okay, let's hear it.
But before I do the formal introduction, I don't know if you know this or not, but John actually won a car on Price is Right back in 2011.
Do you have a clip? You have a clip?
I looked for the clip. I was looking. I spent the morning on
the page. You didn't look very hard.
Really? It's on your website?
About me, yeah.
Oh, so shoot. I actually used the YouTube machine. I thought it would be too obvious to go to your website. Let me do the official introduction. John Lee Dumas is the founder of the award-winning podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire, which I've been a guest of, by the way. So it was an awesome interview with John. Listen to this, over 1 million monthly listens to his show, 7 figures annual growth. He's spreading the entrepreneurial fire on a global scale. He's also coming out with his new traditionally published book, which is called The Common Path to Uncommon Success. By the way, John, your book launch page is unbelievably amazing. I'm going to show everybody that page in a second. From a marketing standpoint, brilliant. You should get the book. I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. But dude, thanks for coming and joining me on the show.
I'm fired up to be here. Every time we get to hang out, it's usually in San Diego after social media marketing world. We always have a blast, whether it's you on Entrepreneurs on Fire, us talking about our old military stories together. We always have fun.
I haven't gotten to that part, but John was actually in the Army. He was a tanker. So he was in Iraq on the ground when I was in Iraq in the air. I flew over him at some point along the way. Cool. Dude, you have this. So first of all, my initial view of John Lee Dumas was all of a sudden you're on the scene with this amazing podcast that's super successful. And as usual, I'm like, how did this happen? Was it like an overnight success? But then I got to know you a little bit and I knew that you had a little bit of a zigzag story to success. So tell our viewers about that road for a moment.
It was a zigzag road, brother, for sure. I mean, to kind of back up a little bit, but be very concise at the same time. I grew up in a very small town in Maine and went to college on an Army scholarship. So I spent 4 years as a cadet at Providence College in Rhode Island. And then I was a senior in college when 9/11 happened. So I went from I'm going to be an officer in a peacetime army to okay, I'm probably going to war, literally overnight. And sure enough, a year later, I was commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Army. We were the first round of officers commissioned post 9/11. So we knew things were getting real. And sure enough, I found myself not too long later in Iraq, in charge of 4 tanks, 16 men, the M1A1 Abrams. Thank God we had air support like Mr. Ed Rush over there. So we had nothing literally to worry about, which was quite a relief for sure. And after that 13-month tour of duty, man, I spent my, rest of my 4 years of active duty in the Army and got out, entered the active reserves, and went through what I call 6 years of struggle, like literally 6 years of struggle. I tried law school, I dropped out, corporate finance, quit, commercial real estate, residential real estate, like all these different things, all these different careers. Nothing worked, nothing made sense. And I just was not finding any success nor happiness, dealing with some PTSD from my time in Iraq, of course, which, we can get into a little bit later here. And it was finally, I found myself 32 years old and I'm like, hey, it's time to get serious. It's time to get busy. Like, let me start educating myself. Let me start learning from those people who are creating great content out there. I started listening to podcasts and I became obsessed with the platform of podcasts. It just made sense to me, like this medium that was free, on demand, targeted content. And I did something that I encourage people still to this day to do. I looked for something that was missing in the podcasting space, like how novel. I didn't just go out and copy somebody else. I said, what's actually missing in the current podcasting environment? Like, what's something that I wish was there that's not there? And the quick answer, Ed, was I wished that there was a daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs, because every show was weekly and that just wasn't enough content for me. So I set out to create the first daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. And I like to say the day I launched Entrepreneurs on Fire right here, it was the best daily podcast interviewing entrepreneurs. It was the worst.
It was the only one.
Daily podcast.
It was the best and the worst.
It was the only. And that's why I won. And also, brother, to kind of close this loop right here, that's why I like stormed on the scene so fast, is because I found a void, I filled it, and I just went all in. Focus.
Yeah. It's interesting, that philosophy. A lot of people, so my friend Jonathan Sprinkle says, you were born an original, don't behave like a copy. But most people will find, you and I joked about this actually, because after your podcast came out, there were like another 50 podcasts that were like something on fire, like
my favorite was Firemen on Fire.
Firemen on Fire, World on Fire. One night, I should admit this, but one night we were having fun and I had my designer create a Farts on Fire logo for John, because literally everybody created an on fire after you, but it speaks to your process, which was to go after a niche that was missing. I love that approach. And it actually was born out of, I mean, dude, you started in real estate in 2008 in San Diego when it was like, so it was born out of the struggle. And I find it interesting that you came across that, like what's missing, and that became your success path. That's pretty common, frankly.
Yeah, well, frankly, it's really interesting about the real estate thing, because I had to actually do that in San Diego. Because, when you get out to San Diego, I'd never been there before. I didn't have any connections. Like all the most successful real estate agents, like, have friends and family and they're all getting referrals. I had none of that. So I had to be like, well, what aren't people doing? And like, this was right during the crash. And I was like, well, nobody actually knows how to do a short sale. So like, I literally wrote a book on how to do a short sale. And I published the book, and I was actually interviewed by some San Diego stations about it. And like, I was kind of became like the guy that knew how to do short sales to avoid getting your house foreclosed upon. Like you could actually get out before a foreclosure or a bit, and go through the whole bankruptcy thing. Like I knew how to do that. And then I continued to kind of reinvent myself as a real estate agent and different little tiny niches. And that was like the light bulb moment of like, well, I did that in real estate successfully. Why can't I do that in podcasting? And that was my answer.
And a lot easier, frankly, working in the podcasting world than in the real estate world, where you deal with people like on a transactional scale. So coming into one of the things that you talk about, and I hear you talk about sort of the way that people get lied to by the so-called gurus online. And you and I have been in this business for a long time. We've seen a lot of people come and go. As you were coming into the business, you probably were following people that may or may not have been telling you what was true in the world. So how have the experts led people, or the so-called experts led people astray in this world?
Yeah, because to be clear, there are some fantastic experts in this world. There always have been, there always will be, and they're doing amazing, amazing things, many of whom are very close friends of you and I. And I mean, you're one of them right there. I mean, you're doing some great things in this world, and I love what you're doing. But there are a lot of so-called experts out there. And here's the red flag. The red flag is like, listen, the secret to success is hidden. It's secret. It's complicated. But here's the key for $1,997.97. And like, I see that every single day. And I'm just like, oh, because I know that people are like investing all of that disposable income they have into that one secret key that just frankly doesn't exist. Because again, I'm speaking from experience. I've been running a multi-million-dollar business for 8 years in a row. We just hit our 91st month in a row of over $100,000 net profits. You know,
That's
sometimes
awesome,
much
man.
more, but never less. 91 months in a row. So like, I know how to run a successful business, and how? Because I've learned from 3,000 plus successful entrepreneurs. Every time I
Whoa.
interview somebody for my show, over 3,000 episodes now, I learn from them. I'm the mentee. I am taking in that knowledge. I'm learning from them. They're successful. I want to be successful because guess what? Success leaves clues. I implement their success into my business where it makes sense. And it has grown the business that I've grown now here today. And guess what? Success is common. And what I mean by that is it's not hidden, it's not secret, it's not complicated. It is a very common path to get to your version of uncommon success. It's a common path. All 3,000 plus successful entrepreneurs that I've interviewed have gone on this very common path. Now, I want to be very clear, Ed, and you'll respect this because you're a military person and you're a hard worker. The path is hard. I didn't say it was easy. It's a hard path. It is hard work to launch and grow a successful podcast. It is hard work to launch and grow a successful course, product, service, fill in the blank. It is hard work to do those things. But you know what's also hard, Ed? Being broke.
Failing. What's that?
Being broke. Being
Yeah.
broke is hard. You know, living paycheck to paycheck, that's hard. Waking up every day doing something you don't want to do or are miserable about, that's hard too. And guess what? I've lived that hard. So I know
Yeah.
that's hard. So what did I do back in 2012? And what can every single person that's watching and listening to this right now, what can they do? They can choose their hard. Myself, Ed, the other 3,000 successful entrepreneurs I've interviewed, we've chosen the hard of building a successful business, which is hard work. It's not complicated. Like, it's not secret. It's not hidden. It's a common path to get to uncommon success, which includes hard flipping work. So we chose our hard. And guess what? If I had not chose this hard, I would have been just by default choosing the other hard, which is continuing a life of mediocrity, continuing a life of living paycheck to paycheck, continuing like you mentioned, like a transactional type of life where I was not happy, not being fulfilled because I know that I wasn't living up to the best standards that I could live up to. So that's my call to action to people here is choose your hard.
Choose your heart. I love that, man. Yeah, and coming out of the military too. I mean, that's like you knew nothing good happened unless you kind of dealt with the difficulty. By the way, if you just joined us, my name is Ed Rush. I'm here with my friend John Lee Dumas. Man, I've been waiting to have this interview for a long time. Super excited about it. John, I even had a bad dream the other night about our interview. My gear wasn't working. You ever have one of those dreams? So that's how excited I was about our gears working. Though. Isn't that great? I don't know why I told you that.
Sitting up.
Do you ever have that where you're like the camera won't work and stuff? I have the speaking dream all the time where I'm standing in front of 1,000 people and my microphone's not working. There's something there. I'm sure a psychologist.
Testing.
I'm sure psychologists could do a lot with this. So I want to, by the way, for those of you who just joined us, I'd love your comments and questions. You can do that right in chat. Frank said, boom, my first book is still paying off since 2014. I even contributed a chapter. Thanks, Ed and John. What's up, Dr. Wendy Lee? Good to see you on the show as well. Jump into chat and say hello. Tell John what you said. By the way, I want somebody to write into chat. Choose your hard. That was one of the great points that just came out of that first segment of the interview. So, John, when I made my first year that I made 7 figures, I think it was 2009, and I crossed over the 7-figure mark around October of that year. And I remember I was looking at my P&L. I was sitting next to a guy who I had been working with in his business, helping him as a consultant. I had also gotten some advice from him, so he was also a coach. And I said, dude, I just went over. It was the first time I'd ever gone over 7 figures. And I went, dude, I just did it. I just did 7 figures. And instead of high-fiving me or congratulating me, he looked at me and he said, well, now you know how. So you should be able to do it again. And I was able to do it. I think it was like 8 more years after that. But I thought it was so interesting the way he said, oh, so now you know. So now you know how to do it. And what I realized was even though it wasn't easy, it was actually fairly simple to be able to do that. And then I looked back at all the entrepreneurs that I worked with that failed. And I want to ask you this question because you've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs. Why do you think people fail? Why do entrepreneurs fail in trying to achieve their goals of income, impact, and lifestyle?
There's honestly one simple reason. They've never identified their personal big idea. There's a big idea within all of us, Ed. And guess what? It took me 32 years to identify mine. It's not like you know the day you're born or even when you're 50 or when you're 70. Like, sadly, a lot of people are going to die never, ever even knowing what their big idea is because they never took the time to sit down and to actually create and understand and then withdraw and identify that big idea that's buried sometimes deep in a lot of people right now. And I want that for you. Like, I want you to identify your big idea because this world, Ed, it needs more people who are living in their zone of fire, who have identified their big idea, who are waking up every single day excited about living in that world. What this world does not need is more people waking up every day, going off and doing something that they're miserable about doing. That is not helping this world in any way, shape, or form. What this world needs is you being on fire, is living in your zone of fire, is knowing what your big idea is and living every day within that big idea. Like, that's what we want. Or instead, going back to the beginning part of this conversation, as so many people sadly are saying, you know what, instead of taking the time to identify my big idea, I'm going to see like what person X, Y, or Z are doing that they're having wild success in. And I'm going to become pale, weak imitations of those people. And they do that and they fail.
I mean, so it's interesting. I mean, so let's kind of go into this for just a moment, and then I'm going to tell everybody about your book. So, look, when John says success leaves clues, what he means is there's patterns and behaviors and things that successful people do. So you definitely want to copy and model those, but there's something you were uniquely created for. You were put on planet Earth to do something amazing, and if you're chasing someone else's dream, you're missing out on yours. And so I think that is just so powerful. And I want to go to a comment in chat. So Barry Gamar, who's a longtime viewer of the show, says, I pre-ordered JLD's. See, he already knows who you are. He's got the JLD thing down. He said, I pre-ordered JLD's new. That's a fan right there, bro. So JLD's new book and gotten the bonuses that he offers. Great content and a reason to pre-order. So let me just say, let me just do this because I was going to do this at the end of today's show, but I'm just going to say this. This book is so good and the message is so good. The link's below. So the link is uncommonsuccessbook.com. And what I'm going to do for just a moment is I'm going to go over to this website. And I will tell you, Amazon you can actually get John's book on Amazon. Okay, so there it is, sitting right there on Amazon, #1 best-selling book. But this website right here, if you go to uncommonsuccessbook.com, what you get is you get the book and then you get a whole bunch of extra bonuses. Okay, so if you scroll down on this page, we're not going to go through everything, but I will tell you that you get a whole bunch of bonuses when you pre-order or buy the book through this website. And then there's a whole bunch of bonus packages that come along with that. John, do you want to talk real quick about the bonuses that people get? Because it's really cool. And by the way, I got your book like the moment you sent me the email, I ordered my copy. So tell everybody about the book a little bit and then the bonuses, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, first off about the book, I mean, listen, we've kind of gone through a little bit about this today, but this book is truly the culmination of the 3,000 interviews I've done over the past decade with the world's most successful entrepreneurs. I've downloaded all of those thousands of hours of conversations. Like, I literally just sat down and put it all on a piece of paper. I'm like, what are the commonalities that all of these entrepreneurs have in common? What are those commonalities? And it boiled down at the end of the day to 17 core foundational principles that successful entrepreneurs share. Being the military guy that I am, like, I literally put them in chronological order. I said, this is a revolutionary roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. This is the common path to uncommon success. So if uncommon success sounds interesting to you, if being on a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment sounds interesting to you, this book should sound very interesting to you, because I took 480 hours to write the 71,000 words and the 273 pages that now comprise this book right here. And it's a decade of my work, of these interviews, of the lessons I've learned into one book for you. Now, if that wasn't enough to get the book, I've gone ahead and made it such a flipping no-brainer. And I mean no-brainer. Those bonuses that Ed was talking about here, just one of those 5 bonuses, I'm shipping all 3 of my journals, the Freedom, the Mastery, and the Podcast Journal. I'm shipping them to your doorstep. I mean, Ed, you're a business guy. You know this. Like, I'm making about $1 per book sale. Like, this is not me doing this for money. Like, I am losing money on every single pre-order, and I don't care. Like, I've done it financially. Checks, money's in the bank, financial war chest is there. This is for my audience. This is for entrepreneurs that I wake up every day and see their struggles and their questions and their freakouts in my inbox that I don't have time to answer to independently, because nobody does. There's hundreds and thousands of emails every day, week, and month. I now can hand them this book and I can say, this is the answer to your questions. This book is the solution to your problems. Go ahead, Ed.
It's unbelievable. And by the way, grab your Freedom Journal really quickly. I just want to tell you, John gave me a copy of Freedom Journal, I think it was like 5 years ago. That journal by itself I'd pay $1,000 right now for that thing, okay? And that's a bonus. Like, just to get this clear, you're sending that in the mail as a bonus, right?
So every single person is getting the Freedom Journal, which is
That's
accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. Everybody's getting the Mastery Journal, master productivity, discipline, and focus in 100 days. And everybody's getting the Podcast Journal, which is create and launch your podcast.
Ooh, that's cool.
In 30 days.
I didn't know that. I didn't know about that third one. That's really cool.
And
so
guess what? That's for everybody that's in the United States. If you're outside the United States, I still love you. I'm immediately emailing you the beautiful digital packs of all 3 of those journals.
That's pretty cool, man. What about Puerto Rico?
Continent, listen, part of the United States, Puerto Rico gets the journal shipped because we have USPS here, man. I can do this.
Puerto Rico is amazing. By the way, if you don't know, if you just joined us, John is broadcasting from his palatial mansion on the beach in Puerto Rico. And if you buy, 7,000 books, you actually get to visit John, by the way. I was like,
actually only 1,200 books.
Is it 1,200? I said, hey, man, I'm going to buy 1,200 books.
Yeah. And I'm buying you a first class ticket to get down here. I mean,
go visit John, take the flight. Wendy says, choose your heart. Yes, John says, John, you also followed your heart and passion, which I love that comment, by the way. Ron says, yep, choose your heart. Robert says, it becomes a mission. Barry says, identify your big idea. I like Adam's comment. JLD is a rock star. His only fault is having gone to Providence, not a B10 school. All right.
Listen, if I wanted to go to some school in the middle, one of the flyover states, I would have. But I like to stick to the coast, man. I like the ocean.
And last I checked, Providence still has a basketball team, just barely. Okay.
That was a
hey, man, I went to William & Mary, so I don't have anything to say about that. Good to see you, Jim House. This is actually my book publisher right underneath here.
Cool.
And there's the website from my amazing team member, Delisa Tool, A Common Success. So I'm going to leave the link down there, by the way. I can't find a single reason for you not to invest in that, even if you're in the middle of Kathmandu. You're still
even if you live in Big Ten country, like we'll still deliver to you, even though, people usually just look down when they're flying over to somewhere important. But listen, this is the important thing to realize of all the things we're talking about. That's just one of the 5 bonuses. There's 4 other insane bonuses. But listen, it's this book. Like, this is what I love about books, Ed. And like your book right behind you, Miracle. I mean, it's like, this is such a cheat code. This is such a fast forward button. It's like, if I had this book when I launched the podcast, like, it would have sped up everything that I did, because I had to make all these mistakes myself. I had to learn the hard way. I had to interview 3,000 people to get this knowledge. You just get to read a book to get this knowledge.
Yeah.
And man, it is why this world's such a great place, because you get to get content like this literally for next to nothing. Like, you got to make an investment. And I'm not talking about the financial investment, not the $25 for a hardcover. I'm talking, you have to make a time investment, because we're going to go back to the beginning, which is the choose your hard. Like, getting this book is not enough. It's reading it, it's implementing it, it's going through the companion course that I have for free that comes with this book. That's doing the work. That's hard. But if you want financial freedom and you want fulfillment in your life, you've got to choose that hard.
It's awesome, man. And I mean, what you said about the experience. So people ask me this question. They'll say, if you could get on a time machine and you could visit anyone in the world, who would it be? And I always say, me, 10 years ago. Because if I could visit me 10 years ago, I could bring all my tools back, all the things I've learned and all the resources. I can avoid all the mistakes I made 10 years ago. So the book that John was just holding is your time machine. It's your ability to learn the lessons that you wanted to learn over the years, but now you can accelerate your success. And I think it's awesome, dude. So you'll find his 17-step roadmap inside of the book, which is awesome. You don't want to miss that. What's your favorite? Just tell me what's your favorite one of all the steps. What's your favorite one?
I have a favorite. Listen, a lot of people, there's like, I can't choose a favorite. I'm like, tell me who your favorite kid is. I know you have a favorite kid. Just tell me. Everybody has a favorite. My favorite is chapter 7, step 7. Listen, brother, like I said, this book's 71,000 words. Just this chapter is 13,500 words. It is a business book in and of itself. Step 7, chapter 7. Creating a content production plan. Now, I'm going to get real here for a second, Ed, and I may upset a couple people that don't have thick skins. Like you and I, we have thick skins because we're in the military and like we're used to being yelled at and told the truth. I'm just going to tell the truth right now. Most people that are watching this show, your content production plan sucks. It really does. I promise you, it really does. Even if you think it's good, it's not. And believe me, my content production plan sucked too. It really did. Of course it did. I didn't know what I was doing. But over a decade, I've turned it into an absolute beast. Like my content production plan is fantastic. And I know it's the reason why I'm running a multi-million-dollar a year business, net profit, why I've made over $100,000 net profit 91 months in a row. It's because of the content production plan that we've created and crafted and made over the last decade. And that's what chapter 7 is for you. So if you read that chapter and you apply its principles, first off, your head's going to pop off because you're going to be like, I can't believe how much amazing content's in this one chapter alone. Then you're going to put your head back on and you're going to be like, okay, now it's time to get to work because I had a very crappy content production plan. And now I can see that with the truth that it is. Now I'm going all in to change that, and it will change your life, period. You need an amazing content production plan. This book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, will give it to you for probably the first time in your life, and it will change everything.
There he is. I hope you just kept teaching. Did you keep teaching?
I did. And then I said, back to you, Ed. Well, not sure if it's Ed's internet or my internet, but I see the live is still ticking along here, and Ed froze on a very interesting position right now. So I'll take over here for a second and just say, Ed, man, it has been a blast being on this show. I always enjoy getting to hang out with you, and the fact that you put this all together to let me share this with your audience means so much. I mean, this book is my passion piece. This is The Common Path to Uncommon Success. It is the 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us live. Great comments, great questions all around. So appreciate that. Anybody that's watching this in the recorded section, awesome. You're consuming great content. Maybe you're watching this at double speed right now, which would be pretty cool. But right there, right below us, uncommonsuccessbook.com, uncommonsuccessbook.com. That's the place that you can go right now to check out all the bonuses, to check out all the awesomeness, to just really be able to get a taste of the book with the first chapter is right there. And it's uncommonsuccessbook.com. So Ed, you're back, buddy. You had a really funny freeze frame. You're going to have to go back and look at that after. And
my kids, every time we watch movies, if we're going to go get ice cream, I'll push pause and they love it. An actor, stop.
Oh man, unfortunately you froze again.
By the way, if you're going to lose your internet.
All right, Ed's kind of still going in and out right now. And this is the 30 minutes past the hour, which is the conclusion of our interview. Quick side note, I have 54 interviews I'm doing this week. So I'm back to back today. I enjoyed hanging out with every single person. I know I'll catch up with Ed on the flip side. Take care, my friends.